Dan, I thought we played all the important fuzzes in the world.
Mate, we've barely scratched the surface. And here's 5 more you really need to know about. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello, welcome to the show. Please subscribe.
And all the other good stuff.
Go to That Pedal Show store and buy merch. It's how we fund the show.
Absolutely.
Well, that was arresting.
Yeah. What I wanted to do, we love fuzz and we use it a lot. We both have fuzzes on our own boards, but we tend to gravitate towards our sun faces, tone benders. There are fuzzes that a lot of us know and are very familiar with for good reason. They're amazing. But I wanted to have a look at 5 vintage fuzzes that are remade that you really should at least know about to throw into the possibility of your fuzz journey.
No fuzz face clone on here.
There's no fuzz face clone.
No big muff clone.
No.
And no tone bender clone.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're talking about different things.
We are. We are.
Just for the halibut, there is a high watt custom 100 there.
It really is.
On a 212 Marshall cab, so it's within the realms of sanity, and it sounds
utterly awesome.
And a humble deluxe reverb. I think you heard them together in the beginning there, but we'll hear them separately for some of the fuzzes and just as we see fit. The idea being higher headroom amp that can just take everything and an amp that's gonna cave in a bit more.
Yeah.
At only 22 watts.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Right, the first fuzz I wanted to have a look at, if we have a look top right hand side, this is the Astro Tone from Analog Man. Now, it is a faithful recreation of the circuit of the Astro Tone fuzz from Sam Ash.
Oh, okay.
And
the famous American retailer.
Exactly.
Right.
And this fuzz, it doesn't have as much gain as like your traditional fuzz faces and things, but it has a clarity to it, and the EQ on it makes it really great for no matter what amplifier you've got going, you can tune it. And it's also especially good for Les Pauls, because one of the things with traditional fuzz faces, because the amount of bottom end that fuzz faces have, it can be quite difficult to get them working. But the Astro Tone has made a name for itself.
Do you know if it derives the fuzz from transistors?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And anything else?
It's just a... Yeah,
no op amps or anything?
No, it's just a transistor. I mean, it's a really old design.
Right.
I think all of these fuzzes, they're all transistor based.
Yeah, okay.
Because what we're talking about here is the mid 60s to early 70s for all these designs.
Okay, I'll do some research and put maybe the original names on the screen with a date for when the original design came out.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Well, let's hear it with the telly first then.
Okay.
The amps.
Yeah.
Just for the time being, because then you know what you're listening to. And we'll switch in the other amp every now and again.
Okay, so Astro Tone.
Yeah, okay. So obviously on every one of these fuzzers, I'm going to test the cleanup.
Yep. But isn't that great with Les Paul?
It's excellent.
Yeah.
It's I would say it has some things in common with Fuzz Face.
Right.
To put it, for example, most tone benders, certainly 3 transistor tone benders, tend not to clean up very well.
Yeah.
The 2 transistor ones, the 1.5, kind of does, and that puts me in mind of that. I don't know if the circuit is in any way similar, but it puts me in mind of it. It also sounded really, really fantastic with the fuzz low, and the volume just pushing, the amp sounded really killer actually.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. I wanted to start with that because it's like, it sets up how different fuzzers can be. We're so used to hearing this amazing wall of noise, and it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
But the fuzz circuit, because that is really clipping, but you know, a little bit of a design tweak, and it becomes this really lovely dynamic thing that you can make work with a variety of guitars.
I do appreciate we could be all day here doing this if we do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just want to hear it with a Strat, and a relatively weak Strat too.
Okay.
This was in E flat, but it's much, much weaker than a couple of my other Strats. So I'm interested to hear how that cleanup works.
Sure.
And what it does just with the Strat very briefly. Sorry, that's this. Gotta fix it.
But yeah, I love it. I think it sounds fantastic. They're not crazy money either. You know, it's a really lovely thing to, as an alternative to your standard fuzz face. I think they're brilliant.
I think it would work great into because one of the problems with Fuzz Faces, just to finish that thought, as the amp starts to overdrive, because of that excessive bottom end, because of the insane fuzz going on, all your low notes are just gone. They're just mush. And I think into a Marshall with a bit of love on it, that would work great.
Yeah. Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
And still available from Analog Man.
Still available from Analog Man. Okay, moving along, we've got, this is the Colordriver by our mate Teddy at Tru-Fi, who makes really great stuff. What I dig about this pedal, so if you look at the history of color sound, and it's, you know, it's amazing, and you know, it's worth it. It's a big part of guitar history.
Yeah, big time.
But the Gary Stewart, because there's Gary Hurst and Gary Stewart who are involved, but Gary Stewart actually did the overdrive circuit. And there's we all know the tone bender from Gary Hurst, and that all became part of the color sound family. Yeah, one variant of which, in full form, you can sort of see part of its lineage there. That's right. Variously called Overdriver, Power Booster. Right. And the interesting thing about that circuit, it's basically what this circuit is, but this circuit has a master volume because there is so much scope in this circuit. I mean, the output on that thing is outrageous. But having a master volume on there, you can get those fuzz tones, but actually make them usable. Well, why don't we start with the master volume cranked and just show you what happens when you bring this drive control up. Okay. So the EQ is extremely powerful as well, isn't it? Absolutely. So we'll start with it. If you bought an original one of these, it wouldn't have had a master volume. That's right. So this is what you would experience, kind of similar. Yeah? Exactly.
Just for the record, that's only the high watt, right? So you can see the problem. You're there playing away on your new pedal that you've got, you know. A bit of a solo boost.
It sounds extraordinary,
It's
but
insane.
to get that sound, they had to have the drive cranked.
But the fuzz doesn't really happen till you're around here, does
That's
it?
right, exactly right.
So what you have to do is turn the master down.
Exactly.
And then you can start to crank it. Because most people, presumably, didn't get much past there, especially if the amp was clean and loud.
Yeah.
Because it was just too crazy. So
yeah.
we turn the master volume down. This is what happens. And you can have that right down to low.
So a lot of people will know that it's basically one of the first overdrive pedals, but when you get it to that level, it is an awesome fuzz. It really is. And because you've got the EQ on there, you can, again, shape it. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And obviously, we know that Gilmour and Jeff Beck used versions of this circuit. But for people who are after a fuzz but don't really, you know, want to get into the tone benders and fuzz faces, it is a fantastic place to start.
100%. If you want to use it like that, though, it's pretty much got to have the master volume.
Absolutely.
So make sure you find one that's got master volume. I'll just make the point, if you're an occasional user of fuzz and you don't necessarily want to have a fuzz on your board all the time, what it's also utterly fantastic for is just a great boost sound.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Check this out. So if we wind the overdrive all the way back to 0 again. massive, massive, massive range of really, really great sounds.
Yeah.
It's killer, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
It's killer.
It's really wonderful.
Okay.
Moving along. Shaftesbury DuoFuzz. This is a remake of one of my absolute faves. The original Shaftesbury DuoFuzz. So Rose Morris.
There's a real one kicking around somewhere.
There's two real ones kicking around.
Sorry, an old one, should I say? This is a real one too.
So I've got two originals. I've got the original DuoFuzz, and then I also have the companion fuzz, which is the same fuzz. What happened when Rose Morris commissioned these, it used to happen a lot back in the late 60s, early 70s, where, fuzz was taking off, so a retailer would commission the people making the fuzz to go and make a bunch of fuzzers with their name on them. And Rose Morris would do this, and I've actually got a picture of myself. I took my DuoFuzz into Denmark Street and just stood outside the Rose Morris and went, because it's, I love the thing so much. Anyway, Shin-A, who made loads of awesome stuff, back in the late 60s and 70s, they made the DuoFuzz for Rose Morris, and it's a version of the Univox Super Fuzz. It's the same circuit, basically, and if you have a look at the enclosure, it's all... Now, controversially, I've played Super Fuzzes and I've played DuoFuzzes, and they sound different to me. But it's supposed to be the same circuit.
Thing is, two DuoFuzzes are going to sound different, aren't they?
Well, this sounds very different than my DuoFuzz.
And this is a modern remake.
This is the modern remake. So Thorpe.
Yeah. Hello, mate.
Yep. The guys that Adrian teamed up with, the guys at Rose Morris asked him to do, a new remake.
To make it, yeah.
And so this is it. So it's a very octave heavy gated fuzz. There are two different versions of it. There's this one, which is the traditional layout, and then there's the smaller standard,
like a normal stomp box.
Normal stomp box size.
Yeah.
But this is a real homage to the original.
Because one would assume that there's a lot of air in that case.
Yeah.
Tone air.
Tone air, exactly. Speed holes and tone air.
I swear big fuzz faces sound different than little ones. Anyway.
Yep. You won't get any argument from me. So this is just what I'll get you to do. I'll play a bit, and then if you can maneuver the knobs on the side.
Yeah.
Even at the lowest gain range, there's still loads of gain.
What do the knobs do?
There's what they call there's output and balance, which is basically gain. It's on there, exactly.
And there's a switch.
And there's a switch which has two different tonal things. One is a mid heavy, and the other one is very bass and top heavy.
Let's have it.
That was ace.
Far out.
Yeah. Yeah, tis a groovy thing. It's so massive fans of this pedal include Steve Hackett, and if you listen to the Who live at Leeds, Pete Townsend, there's a lot of DuoFuzz on that album. It's a really, really cool thing.
So Dan and I obviously prefer it much more in the mid-focused range, but that the mid-scoopy range, I could imagine that paired with some extra overdrive with a humbucker in some sort of alternative
shoegazy thing where it's just like
very much. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that he used it, but veering sort of Smashing Pumpkins in that kind of way.
Yeah,
definitely hear it in that world.
Yeah,
that's killer, man.
It's really I you know, I've loved them for a long time, and it's wonderful to see them back, and it's they've done a really great job. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Octave Fuzz, and they come in many different forms. We all know, or most of us will know, if you listen to the solo by Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix, that's the Octavia sound. The thing that I love the most is the kind of Prescription Electronics clean octave blend, and you can find that in our collaboration pedal with Mythos, the Argo Boost Deluxe, and then there's that, which is a different thing again.
Yep.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
All right then, has this one got anything to do with Rush?
Rush, as in...
Yeah, Tom Sawyer.
It doesn't. It has to do with Pepe Rush.
Right.
In 1965, in London.
I'm just on Guitar Safari again today, by the way.
That's nice.
Just bagging whatever I can get.
So so this is really cool. So this was released, re-released a couple of years ago by Pepe's daughter, Lucy. And, you know, Lucy's been working with Dad for a long time. And anyway, they've re-released the Pepbox. So, 1965, a bunch of players used these, including John Lennon, and the sound of this is on Revolver.
Oh, no way.
And there's a great picture of John Lennon with his Rush box. With his Pepbox. Super gated, and it's a really interesting sound. It's a really you can imagine this, people hearing this back in the mid-60s is going,
hey?
Wild. Exactly.
Yeah, but then I think that context is really important.
Completely.
The story of Satisfaction is told many times, so we won't go over it here, but FZ1 comes out, Keith Richards uses it on Satisfaction, you can hear it, and all of a sudden a new sound is popularised.
Yeah.
I don't want to say born, it was popularised. And back then, if you were releasing a hit record, what you were looking for was a new sound.
Yep.
Be
Absolutely.
it guitar, voice, whatever it might be.
And you couldn't go into a store and go, hey, whatever that's, let me buy that. It's like, no.
Yeah.
The story goes, famous guitar player who would have Pepe work on stuff for him says, I want that sound, build me something.
Oh, okay.
So he came up with this circuit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. So just playing around with the extreme gated nature of it there and taking the volume off to see if there's any cleanup, and you just get this wicked. Thanks to Josh at West Valley Guitars. We're just borrowing this for a minute.
Yeah.
Who knew we had a guitar maker down the road? But I've tuned it down to D. For the hell of it, it's supposed to be in concert pitch, but I quite fancy it in D. So anyway.
Yeah. But I think it's a really cool thing. There's a unique thing to it. I mean, really gated, but there's a lot of gain there. Should you want it? But there's something.
It's kind of a step back from the DuoFuzz.
Yes.
Because there's definitely an octavey
harmonic,
interesting harmonic relationship going on, which isn't just like a straight fundamental fuzz like you would think about something like a Fuzz Face or indeed the Big Muff.
Yeah.
It definitely has that focus on extra harmonics.
Yeah.
But not as crazy as the DuoFuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, killer, man.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And so Lucy's using the same machinery as her dad used to make them. Like she's keeping it, like she's done a really wonderful job of sort of in honor of her dad.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and the cool stuff. But it's a really great thing. So well done, Lucy, for keeping that going. It's really great. Okay, and finally,
a whole wedge of cheese.
So this
conveniently with the controls on the end, so you can't see them.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. So I've turned it around so that at least we can have a vague clue of going on, even though we can see what they're called. It doesn't really matter. I've still got how it's supposed to work. Balance, timbre, I think it's pronounced, and sustain.
Timbre means tone.
Yeah,
pretty much, doesn't it?
And you twist that thing and tell me if that's what that does. So this is the Pigdog Electronics. G'day, Steve. This is his remake of the Baldwin Burns Buzz Around.
Ah.
So the story goes that this came out and it's exceedingly rare. The originals go for crazy money now.
Was it that shaped box?
Is that shaped box? It looked like this.
It's got kind of, if you were a child in the 70s and your family had a car, the radio would have looked something like that.
Yeah, yeah. As would have the high beam detector. But it turns out that it was a copy of a GP Electronics harmonic generator fuzz that sort of later came to light, that they had sort of taken the design.
Really? You mean in the pedal world, someone takes somebody else's design?
Which then became the basis for the Tone Bender Mark III.
Okay.
So
Allegedly.
So
one source says we can't verify its factual accuracy.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
Yeah. But let's say a number of sources have said this.
Okay.
But
in the spirit of journalistic inquiry.
There we go.
And not in the statement of fact.
This is the law.
Just in case anyone is interested in libel or defamation at this point.
Yeah, this is the law of the Burns Buzz Around. But this is the remake of this from Pigdog.
Okay.
He also does another version of this in a normal pedal, which I've got, which is wonderful. But this is the homage to the original Burns Buzz Around. Users of this include Robert Fripp. Used this sound a lot with Crimson.
Right.
And it is very aggressive, but very, very cool sounding thing. And it for me, it hits that perfect point between distortion and fuzz. Whereas, say, something like the Astro Tone is overdrive and fuzz, as is the Colordriver. This is distortion and fuzz.
Yeah, okay. Do we know how that is derived?
Yes, germanium transistors.
2?
3.
3, okay. Gonna say, when we were warming up, it sounds like there's way more fuzziness.
Oh, yeah.
So it is 3. Okay, that would explain that then.
Yeah.
Good. Glad my ears aren't broken yet. That's about to happen now.
Okay.
Killer.
Isn't it wonderful?
Killer.
So if you imagine, that sound has been out there like since the 60s. And what I love about all of these, they're all fuzzers, but there are sounds there that we don't necessarily associate with fuzz because we're so used to hearing, the Hendrix fuzz, which is awesome, and ad infinitum. But man, there's some amazing fuzz tones that have been around for a long time, and people still making, because these are all new.
Yeah.
So people making really wonderful versions of these classic fuzzers.
Surprisingly, for that pedal show, all available.
Yeah.
Just a note on the timbre control.
Yes.
It feels like a filter in the same way that it is in the Astro Tone.
Yes.
Like it is on a rack kind of thing.
All of the knobs on this are interactive.
Yeah.
So you've, like, if you turn one knob, then timbre has a completely different...
Right.
I mean, it's wonderful that you turned it all up and you actually got the timbre knob working.
There's a lot of fuzzers out there that have got a separate knob for something like bias, or it might even be called gate.
Yeah.
To deal with that, if you want it to go gated.
Yeah.
And that means that kind of spitty sound where the impact of your plectrum on the string decides how much it's going to let through. And if it doesn't quite let through the whole signal, you get that sort of spitty gated sound. I dig that. So when I turned the volume down on this,
it was doing that thing.
It was really, really, it was still fuzzy and nasty and kind of, Dan Auerbach, Jack Whitey, all that stuff that you would think of. And a bit of Joey, bit of Ariel with the down tune.
Totally appropriate in a modern, you can hear that in a modern setting, right?
I dig that.
Yeah.
I really, really like that a lot.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I like them all a lot. It's so cool to hear, how many years later now? 60, 70 years later?
Yeah.
Is it that?
It's 60 years later.
Yeah. It's time's going quick. All right, don't blame me. 60 years later, and these things are still making us happy.
Still doing the business. Yeah, it's really, really wonderful. And then you throw in a little bit of modern delay and reverb on the end just to give it a bit of space around it. It's like, it's beautiful.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll say cheerio, and then obviously we'll turn them all on at the end. Thank you for watching.
Indeed.
Please go to that Pedal Show store and buy merch. It's the primary way we've done this show, and we're incredibly grateful for you doing so.
Absolutely. A massive thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support.
Monthly giveaways there, so please sign up at patreon.com/thatpedalshow.
Yeah.
What else?
We have preferred retailers.
Lovely retailers.
Lovely retailers.
Details in the description box below, where if you click on a link and buy something, we also get a little something back from that as well. So we appreciate it.
And if you have anything you'd like to say, leave a comment, or even better, join us on a Monday afternoon for viewers' comments and questions, where you can chat to us live and go, hey guys,
guess
got
what?
an original one of these, and it's on the way to you now, because we love you so much.
Thanks again to Josh at West Valley for loaning us this for a minute. It's lovely and coral, I would say.
And thanks to everyone in Fender who worked there in 1965 for this one. Appreciate that.
Cool. All right. We know what to do now.